Hello everyone, welcome to the Free Church for the latest in our series of lunchtime music recitals. Just a few notices to mention before we come to today's event, not the least of which is that tomorrow morning the now world-renowned Free Church Cafe will be open in the West End Garden from 10:30 until 12:30 with tea and coffee and biscuits and cakes unlike anything you can get anywhere else, and cheap at half the price. So you are all very welcome to come and join us, and rumour has it, it isn't going to rain, which will be a first for us on a Saturday morning through the whole of this summer period, so we can even relax and sit outside tomorrow. So you'll all be very welcome to come and join us for that tomorrow morning. And then looking ahead to the next in this series at the end of September, the last Friday in September, we will have a visit from the pianist Yoriko Kaski. Yoriko was one of those who very kindly performed a recital for us early this year. It was only her. We weren't allowed an audience, but we were able to broadcast it, and we were very grateful to her for providing that opportunity. So we said when we could have an audience, we'll invite you back. So she's coming back at the end of September, and hopefully we'll have a good audience to welcome Yoriko on that particular occasion. There will be light refreshments served after today's concert, so please, if you can, do stay around and enjoy what's been provided. As usual, we ask for a retiring collection, and that money is used to ensure that those who come to play for us are properly remunerated, as well as enhancing music within the life of the church. You are a generous audience, we know that, and thank you very much for your continued generosity. And so we come to today. We're grateful that Litsa is able to accept that invitation. She was one of those we had to cancel during the pandemic. It was intended that she would be accompanied, but all her prospective accompanists have run away. I can't understand why. But she's very kindly rearranged a program which is for violin only, rather than cancel the event altogether. So we're very grateful to her for that, and she will explain as we go along the pieces that she's going to play for us. So will you please give a very warm welcome indeed to Litsa Tunnah.
Good afternoon, everybody. So lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. I'm really looking forward to playing for you today, especially as it's been such an incredibly long time since I've been here. And obviously, as we all know, the pandemic's had a massive impact on the arts. So to be back playing recitals again means truly an awful lot to me. And I'm really looking forward to presenting this really unique program for you today. So as Ian mentioned, I certainly don't have a pianist here. However, I'm going to present to you some of the works that I discovered during the lockdown. One of which, the first piece in my program, is one that you may have already heard before. However, you probably would have heard it being performed on the organ, because I'm going to play a version of the Bach's famous Toccata and Fugue for solo violin. Not organ, solo violin. This is a transcription. So it's a bit different. It's quite technically virtuosic. Obviously on the violin we've got lots of notes to cover. And it's a work that I found pretty much by accident. It was the last performance I did before we went into the stricter lockdown, and I was in a car on the way home from a festival, and I remember saying to a colleague of mine, wouldn't it be really cool if you could play that on the violin? So sure enough, I went home, we found ourselves in lockdown the next week, and I was looking online, and then I found it. So there is a version for violin. It's not performed, nobody plays it, I don't know why, but you're going to get to hear it, so I hope you enjoy it. Toccata, I was interested, I don't know whether anyone knows the origin of the word toccata, but toccata, basically, the rough translation of toccata comes from the word to touch. And so it's generally considered to be a virtuosic kind of piece of music because the touch is what it's all about, so it's the fast finger movements. So you will hear today the toccata and fugue in D minor, performed on the violin. So I very much hope you enjoy it. So I hope you enjoyed the Bach Toccata and Fugue. Moving on, the next piece in today's programme is a really, really interesting work, and I've actually performed this work once here before. So this piece is called The Four Australian Birds, and it's by a British composer called David Matthews. And some of you may know that David Matthews is actually a very local composer. He lives just around the corner, in fact. And I was very fortunate to have come into contact with David and to have been sent many of his works, and this is one that I kind of fell in love with. It's become one of my favourites, and I'm sure you'll see why. So David wrote this piece when he was in Australia, and he's a big ornithology fan. So when he was in Australia, he was noticing the various different birds and wildlife that would be around where he was staying. And so there's four movements to this for each of the four Australian birds. I'll talk you through them. So the first one was Monroe. Now Monroe was the Australian magpie. Now in Australia, if you think about magpies here, they're not really very musical, are they, to be fair? But the Australian magpie actually is. So the Australian magpie's song is actually on what we call a diatonic scale. And David would notice the magpie coming and sitting on the railings of his balcony, and that inspired him to write a Monroe song. And it's very beautiful, very, as I say, it's a diatonic scale, it's very atmospheric. Now, the second bird that you'll hear is the Australian cuckoo. And David always jokes about how in this piece, rather than hearing the cuckoo, you almost hear the coo-cook because it's Australian, so it's an inverted cuckoo sound, obviously being upside down. And yeah, in that movement, you will hear lots of effects actually from the violin. So you'll be listening out for some left-hand pizzicato, that's where we're plucking the strings on the left hand. And you'll also be listening out for the cuckoo, both ways, the English way and the Australian way, forwards and backwards, rising and falling major thirds. And then the third bird that you'll hear is the whipbird in the rainforest. So the whipbird, I did a bit of research on this. I went onto YouTube and had a little look to see what the whipbird does, and it kind of scoots along the forest floor, and then it makes this tremendous kind of thwacking sound. And that's represented on the violin, again with a left-hand pizzicato, but this time it's a snap pizzicato. And that's where we pluck the strings, but it actually hits the string back onto the fingerboard, almost in a kind of percussive way. You'll also hear some tremolo effects, which is where we move the bow in a kind of trembling fashion on the string, and some sul pont, which is where we play near the bridge to make a kind of spookier sort of effect. So the whipbird is very atmospheric and very, I think, descriptive of the actual bird itself. So please do go on YouTube when you go home and see what a whipbird does, because you're going to hear it here first. And the last one we have is the butcherbird. And again, this is characterized by the song of the butcherbird. And this one has a falling major second, followed by a raising augmented fourth. Those are the two intervals that you'll hear in the song of a butcherbird. Lots more effects in this one, and I really hope you enjoy this piece as much as I do, because it's such a joy to play it for you. So here we are, David Matthews for Australian Birds. Oh, for the speaking. Of course. Is that what this is? Okay. I'm so sorry, you should have said. Normally I'm really good at shouting at people. So the final piece in today's program is the Bieber Passocalia. Now this again is a work for solo violin that isn't performed anywhere near often enough, I would say. So it's a Baroque piece, and you may hear it being performed on the Baroque violin, but as a classical violinist, it's not a piece that I ever came across in mainstream repertoire for performances until the lockdown. And again, you know, as I said, being stuck at home for all of this time, it was obviously a huge annoyance, but also the flip side of that was the benefit of having to discover music that you play by yourself. And throughout the lockdown, I would enjoy playing this piece because there's a certain sense of solitude about playing a solo instrument, and just that single sound of the violin, I think, is something that you can really kind of relate to in an isolation situation. And so on those lonely days, I would take this piece of music and play it to myself and almost feel, you know, the violin kind of dancing with itself. A passocalia is obviously a dance. And this is from a set of works called the Rosary Sonatas. And so each different movement from the Rosary Sonatas have a different meaning to them. And this one is a kind of prayer. So I think you can sense there's a real kind of spiritual grounding about it, but it's also got that kind of dancing, almost in isolation feel to it. And I know that probably sounds very convoluted, but I think when I play it, you might get that sense. And it's such an incredibly beautiful piece of music. I'm really very touched and glad to be able to perform it for you, and I just hope you enjoy it. It's a very special piece. all Elgar, I feel like I should deliver on my promise. Oh, sorry. I forgot. It's so high up, you see, it doesn't look like it's for me. Having promised you all Elgar, I wondered whether you might like a little bit of Elgar. It won't have a piano accompaniment, but it'll still be Elgar. So I'm going to play Salut d'amour.
Do say something.